You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm expecting an even bigger year production-wise than you've had in the Taj Brooks era, or maybe even going back to some years prior as you're just looking back over the course of this decade where you began more so among running backs or ball carriers as a team that was hovering in a 1,200, 13, 1,500 kind of range. I think if you were really being productive and then you get more so into the Taj and SaRodorick Thompson, or at that time, I guess SaRodorick Thompson and Taj era, where it was upped a little. And then more recently in truly the Taj Brooks era, you've been closer to 2,000 yards. I don't think you've topped it. Maybe you have by just a few yards among specifically ball carriers, but you've been around the 1,900 mark. But I'm still asking myself and sort of even buying into this, that with these guys and, of course, the group you mentioned up front that we think has been dramatically improved, certainly hoping that's the case, I think maybe the production gets bigger actually on the other side of the all-time leading rusher going out the door, and that's clearly no slight to him, but a much different situation, I think, just from 24 to 25, and maybe I'll go back to the word hope and say a much different situation, I hope, where you could even be more productive in the backfield.
Yeah, you were – I asked you this before the show because you told me we were going to talk about this. And I'm like, do you know where you ranked nationally last year? And you were like, somewhere in the middle.
Very middling is what it felt like.
61st in the country at 166 a game. Averaged as a team 4.5 yards a carry. Now, this is virtually no QB run game. This is virtually no explosive runs. This was just grinding it out, right? So what does it look like now that you have multiple options that I think will get carries? Because last year it was like, yeah, okay, Cameron Valdez, he's going to play some, or maybe these two freshmen will play some, and you just did never really commit to that, short of a few flashes between Dickey and Williams. But I think you are committed to these three, and what does that look like? Because I'm looking this up to be sure, but do you know, like you were shockingly. Do you know how many runs you had over 40 yards as a team last year? 2.
I was going to say, is this a trick question? As in,
do you know how many runs you had of 50 yards or more last year? 1. And see, and I think those stats could be substantially higher, like double or triple. Okay, so go from 2 to 6 or 1 to 3. And that's not, and maybe several more than that. And then that's where maybe your average or your yards per carry average, some of that, really, really rises. It's just, though, it's situational that I guess I'm asking about.
Yeah.
It's like I don't need the yards per carry average. I don't need to be 10th in the country in rushing. At some point, I need to be really good around the goal line, and I need to be really good in, we want to start going for it on 4th down, and like ask your coach to roll the dice. Well, you better be able to convert, in between the tackles and all that. Because I think Barron is intentionally going to run more this year. I think he's lost some weight. I think he's faster. He's talked about this. And I think he will be involved in more of the run game. But I don't think you're necessarily putting him in the run game intentionally. And that's just not who he is. That's not really necessarily who Will Hammond is either. So this is going to be your scheme and your running backs that are largely going to be involved here.
Yeah, and I'm, again, just because I love the terminology, the dirty three that you've already referenced. We talked about a ball of muscle already, ball of anger. I can't even remember, ball of knives. Whatever else he threw in there for Cameron Dickey or some of these other guys.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. The
Teenage Mutant. Yeah, I was thinking, which personality would I want him to have? Probably more Raphael, because he was sort of a jerk. He could get nasty. Not the one I really want to have a beer with all the time, but he'd get a dirty 3, I feel like. So if you're Michelangelo, it's probably a little too much goofing off on 3rd down or near the goal line. I hope he's more of a Raphael. You can let me know if I'm going wrong or you see it a different way in the YouTube comments, or fire us a text if you are a Matador mobster. And I'm sure your Ninja Turtle knowledge is just as deep as mine, Chris, so I won't even quiz you on today's show.
Please, thank you. I appreciate you not quizzing me there. I'm aware of the there was like a green one, a blue one, and a red one. Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. I've exhausted my knowledge on the subject.
Okay, so you covered 3 of the 4 because there was also an orange one.
Oh, okay. I was going to guess.
I told you I wasn't going to quiz you, so I'm sorry to bring that.
I was going to guess yellow. I know there's been, there was the cartoon and there's been the movies made and the whole thing. Yes. Right. But yeah, I wasn't necessarily like, I didn't have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle lunchbox going to school, if that's what you're asking.
You were already on a college campus during the heyday, I think, or at least at the end of high school, and women had entered your universe. There was no need for Ninja Turtles, mutant, teenager, otherwise.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. I probably would have looked rather silly walking around the old UC, the University Center at Texas Tech, standing in line at Chick-fil-A with a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle lunchbox. I might have got laughed out of there. There were several other reasons to like take my man card away and all that stuff, but I didn't need to give anybody any extras.
A little bonus TMNT. Talk for you at the end of the program. That's why you stay till the end, folks. Or maybe some of you are thinking, this is why I typically leave earlier. Chris, thank you for the time.
We do need to give nicknames to all 3 of these guys. I wish I could come up with a really crafty nickname for Jacoby, because keep in mind, man, this is the one in high school. Don't you remember? We've talked about this. Didn't he do the between the legs dunk? I mean, he's not the biggest guy at all, but like, man, he is. He's got some serious juice and quick twitch in that body of his, and there's not a tougher guy in that building than Jacoby Williams. And try to tell him he's not the toughest guy, and you'll pull back a nub.
Maybe you just repurpose the muscle hamster. I mean, it's not being used anymore.
It's not. It's been
he
retired.
May bristle at hamster, so I don't want to be the one to offer that to him in person at least, but maybe you toss it to him, Chris, and tell us how it went.
Yeah, you got it. I may let somebody else do that for me.
Yeah. All right, man. Appreciate you as always, and thank you everybody for being out there. Get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Thanks to the Everydayers for always riding along, and of course, shout out to the Matador Mob. Hit the show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text, and it's straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks for the time, and as always, we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.